those who used to say, oh, we should have a single term and all of that, some of us have always argued, look, if you observe, the battle for, to put a successor is usually more fierce than even that of a second term. A governor will put in anything to ensure that, it is his own person, that eventually takes over from him to possibly cover the tracks and all of that. But we'll wait to see how all of this...
but your friend is speaking, TV. Your very good friend, Governor of Rivers State, Nelson Wike. He said he would resign if anybody can prove that he has an anointed candidate. You are saying that they can do anything to have a successor. He said he will resign. Wike is the kind of a person that we have come to see, and Peter Obi, not Peter Obi now, his former governor, Peter Odili, described him as the most popular politician in Nigeria in the last 2 years, since he moved away from government house 2 years ago to his private house, and the controversies with the PDP presidential candidate and all other issues pertaining zoning to the south and what have you.
You see, for Wike, what he was saying was, in the run-up to the governorship primaries of the PDP, that most of persons who have even fallen out with him today wanted him to anoint them. But he told them they should go away, they should go and campaign and see how they can get the votes. But now that his party has a candidate, I can tell you he will put everything he has got in it to ensure that, his person. And even at that, we also saw whether he said he anointed or he did not anoint. We also saw, the drama with EFCC, and all of that about the PDP governorship candidate. He eventually became the PDP governorship candidate in the...
But the interesting development in Rivers State.
One thing about politicians.
With the APC, the APC, the court.
Yes, the court, High Court yesterday
nullified all the APC candidates, and that is
the primaries, the conducted primaries.
Yes. But the party is speaking. He said that it is laughable and that they are going to challenge it. That it will not hold water.
A reminder to what happened in 2015. The Tana crisis in APC.
In Rivers State,
they couldn't field candidates. So it tells you that the problem within APC in Rivers State still subsists. But one of the gladiators within the APC, Senator Magnus Abe, pulled out SDP and got the governorship ticket of the SDP, and we felt the problem in APC will subside, but it appears it has not. So if the Court of Appeal and the Supreme Court stands with the High Court, then it means no way for the APC again, and a huge setback for the party.
It's actually, if you look at the statement by the APC, it's actually the Magnus Abe loyalists
that went to
court and all of that. So when the APC eventually takes them to appeal, we will see whether they will come to to defend it, or they will eventually concentrate on the governorship, because he felt so bitter. They actually went to court before he got the SDP.
And it's the strategy of politicians. When some people move from one party and defect to another, they will ask some people to strategically remain behind and cause trouble. When you remain behind and cause trouble, by the time they are done with fighting the trouble within, the election has come and gone. They will be so wounded that they may not recover. So it's always a strategy. And Abulu, governors will always, even presidents will always claim and pretend they don't have a hand in choosing their successor. I've met them many for years. I've met them, and even before the primaries of their different political parties, they will swear with their life that they want a free and fair. In fact, one of them told me, asked me, Amechi, how many persons, politicians, governors have implanted their successor and have not quarreled with him? Maybe one or two in history since 1999. All of them have quarreled. So he said he will not want to burn the bridge of friendship he has with everybody just to put one man that will turn against him tomorrow. When the time for primaries came, that same governor still endorsed and pushed through one candidate, one aspirant to become candidate. The pressure is always enormous from around them, from family members, from aides, from everybody. you want to risk all you have done. You have to implant someone that will continue with your legacies and protect you and do. That's what the idea they sell to them, and they always fall.
It's the holy books, the Bible specific, that said you cannot understand the heart of man. And we also know the saying that said that the enemy you know, the devil you know, is better than the angel you don't know. So implanting a successor who you know is also mixed up in whatever deals or whatever you have done, which is a devil. You know that this person is a devil, you know him. And if that person comes in and he turns his back and says, no, I want to become a saint, you don't blame anybody. That is why I will suggest, or I always advise the politicians, don't cast your eggs in one basket. If there are 3 persons that are qualified, let the 3 persons go. Like what the president said, President Muhammadu Buhari said during the APC primaries. He said he does not have an anointed candidate, but if he should name the one he supports, they will go after him. So he played smart, and I expect other persons to play smart when it comes to anointing or not anointing a successor.
And Teve, those close to the governor, those close to the president, and it happened to President Muhammadu Buhari, a lot of the presidential aspirants under the APC were hoping that the president will anoint them. They didn't work hard. They didn't do the needful. They felt they were too close to the president, that they've done him so many favors, and it's time for payback. I won't mention names. You can think of names, and they are on the table everywhere. That they have gone out of their way to please this president. That it behoves on this president to endorse them. And based on Nigerian politics, once the president endorses you at the federal level or the governor endorses you at the state level, whoever moves against you, their days are numbered. So they were hoping, and the endorsements didn't come. So especially with Tinubu, that was what Tinubu rode on. And all the other people were waiting for presidential election. Tinubu was doing the needful on the ground.
That's what got him provoked.
And at the end of the day, so do you wait for the governor's endorsement? We have seen governors endorse. The governor of Akwa Ibom State publicly endorsed his preferred candidate. Some others will pretend and tell the media it's a level playing field, but behind.
But the Akwa Ibom State, did Akpabio anoint Emmanuel? You know, he did. But eventually they fell out.
Absolutely.
It's always. That is what I was saying.
Yes.
So you can't understand the heart of man, especially politicians. When a politician gives you a promise, as I keep saying, you go and put it under your pillow. If you're a Christian, you put a Bible on it. If you're a Muslim, you put the Quran on it, and you fire prayer over it to ensure that the promise is kept.
You see, I've always said that if the late Chief of Staff, Abba Kyari, was to be alive till today, the politics of 2023 would have changed, would have been completely different from what we've seen. But when he died, that vacuum has been there. There's been no person to fill that vacuum,
to coordinate,
the kitchen cabinet or the cabal.
Are you saying Gabari is not doing enough?
So he's an outsider.
In what way?
In what way, sir?
He was not part of the team, the original team. So when he came, people had already taken positions. So he was only.
So like Bola said, is he one of those that were invited to come and chop?
He not taking away. He's been a friend to the president for a long time,
and he has proved himself in every field.
As a bureaucrat,
a professor or professors.
As a bureaucrat, he has. I think
at global level,
local and international level.
So back to your line
so that has not been there. We've seen Malami, the Attorney General. We've seen Erofai. We've seen trying to cluster together to see how they can knit that together and work. But it has always fallen apart with what we saw with Ahmed Lawan, and all of that. So eventually, and there are some APC members you meet them, they will tell you the president is not a politician. He has not taken so much interest in the politics itself, of even succession, and all of that. So we have what we eventually have. But it's always a problem if you just sit as an aspirant and wait for endorsement. It's better that you go on ground, do your work, so that at the end of, because the governors or the president as it were, they are getting feedback. You know, so if a particular person, if they keep getting, oh, this person, people want this person, sometimes they also don't have a choice. You know, or they know that if they go against the tide within the party, or the popular tide, it will hurt them. You know, we've seen that particular case in Benue State, for instance. You know, when we have where there is this Reverend Father, you know, in the APC candidate. It got to a point where if the man had gone to any party at all, any political party, it's most likely that he would have pulled through. You know, so
because of his popularity.
You know, so the leadership of the APC had no choice, you know, in the circumstance, that to adopt him and see how they can pull him through. So for candidates, for aspirants, it's better to go and do the homework and all of that. The parties support.
Olusegun Obasanjo stopped all the other aspirants in 2007 and paved the way for Yar'Adua. The idea was that this is a gentleman who will not make trouble. Your legacies will be the foundation you laid, they will build on it, your legacies will be protected and all that. I think it was on the second day of assumption of duty that he started pulling back some policies of Olusegun Obasanjo. The sale of Port Harcourt refinery to Dangote was reversed. And that is the case elsewhere. And if you install the person, the moment they say you coronate a king, the first thing you do is to bow to the king. After you have put the crown on the king's head, the first person that will bow for the king is the man that did it. So if you're a president or a governor and you coronate your successor and you forget that you need to bow, then if you can withstand the forces, Tinubu proved that he could withstand the forces. In Lagos, there were problems with Fashola. He almost was not getting his second term, but Fashola also proved that he had the strength. He pulled through. Ambode came. There was a problem. He felt he could pull through, but he was not that strong, and he was denied a second term ticket. And the source of the problem between the former governor and the current governor, from my own observation, is not just between the two personalities, but with the people around him.
Yes.
Now, the former governor will have his own structure. He would have appointed special advisors, commissioners, heads of boards, members of board, DGs, and all that. When he leaves, the other person, the successor, will now want to change things, change commissioners. The first appointment, you see the former governor contribute more than half of the commissioner. But over time, as he settles down, he begins to weed. He begins to dissolve board. He begins to even influence federal appointments if he's of the same party at the center and all that. And those supporters of the old former governor or former president that are losing out will run to their organ and tell them, and tell him or her, this is what they are doing to us.
Where they run
and
into
before they will coerce and influence that former governor to want to counter the present governor. After all, he picked him from nowhere. He picked her from nowhere. The person had no chance to have an issue just because of influence. And they will ask, how dare he or how dare she want to do this? And that's always the genesis of the problem.
From what we have observed over time, where they run into problem is when you try to remove technocrats and bring in political appointees. There are positions that are made for politicians. The commissioner, for example, the commissioner. But the permanent secretary is supposed to be a civil servant that has grown through the ranks. You cannot bring somebody from nowhere because he's a former political talk. You bring the person and you just offshoot the person and say he has.
You can't make an assistant director, permanent secretary. You must become a director.
So that is where they run into problem. And you know, as Teve will say, politics is grassrooted. These persons in Ministry of Agriculture in Imo State, for example, that have been working all their lives, hoping that they will become director one day or permanent secretary one day. You just bring somebody from nowhere and you install the person, and their career or their ambition ends there. They will be aggrieved, and down the line, the pain will be there. So they will report to their former boss. See what your new man is doing to us. It's bad. So that is where the crack starts from. And if you joke with such things, it will not lead us anywhere. You will keep having this fight.
I know that before now, this issue of DG-ship that IBB introduced those days, there's been some reforms in the civil service. We got back the permanent secretaries, and all of that. And to a large extent, successive governments have tried to what they do most times is to look at, persons within, usually
the ranks. Yeah, they've grown through the ranks.
Go through the ranks, as well. Right now, they are even writing exams. It's not just by.
That is how Obasanjo will tell you a director. He respects the director in the civil service because he knows that he has spent 25 years before he earned that position. And he keeps telling his essays then, respect this director, he has paid his dues.
Definitely, that's a talking point in the civil service. You wait for your turn. When it comes, you get through it. But clearly, you mentioned Obasanjo at the time. Don't forget, in 2007 we had Peter Odili, who was a front runner in that election. But Obasanjo's argument was that he was from the south, so the president should come from the party's flag bearer should come. Standard bearer should come from the north and not from the south, as it were. And we had what eventually was. But then the talking point was also the issue of the vice president, who should eventually be that. But yet, just yesterday, the Kano State governor launched a book on deputizing and national development and all of that.
Deputizing us.
The crisis of being a deputy governor.
The role of the vice president.
One of the few, I think 2 or so, deputy governor to succeed a governor.
Yes.
He was deputy to Pamkwasa.
Yes.
And governors have a disdain in quote for deputy governors because most of the time, it's other interests that nominate the deputy governor. The party will give you in Lagos, Jando of the PDP chose another deputy governorship candidate different from the one the party recommended, Vivan. It became a problem. So if you want to have your way in terms of your running mate, it's always a problem. Look at that.
I think the line of thought is coming from is the role of the deputy.
Yes, I understand. So it's always difficult because the deputy governor is of a different political interest. It's always difficult for the governor to want to hand over. You see, a governor would more likely hand over to SSG or chief of staff that they appoint personally, that they believe they are the ones that have groomed and all that. That may explain it. But let's go for a commercial break. When we come back, your mails